Hello and welcome to the channel Smart English Zone. This is the channel for all the English aspirants who really wants to learn something new. And in this channel, I am just going to give you some of the very important discussions on any literary topic, language, grammar, and also some suggestive way of discussions will be done in this channel. So each and every day you should see all the videos carefully. Don't try to skip the video because you may miss some of the important portion of the topic discussions. This poem is in class 11 of Cbse board, and in this poem we will find that there is a king, and the king one day declared that an arch should be made, an arch should be built for the countrymen, and the king would dedicate this arch in the name of the country people. Now this king is very double figure, or you can say he has a double person or dual personality, because apparently the king pretends to be very much peaceful, but in reality he is very rude and whimsical person, because whenever some silly mistakes are committed by his countrymen, he used to punish them very severely, and for a trifle he even pronounced the capital punishment too. So the king declared that and ordered that an arch should be built, and for that a group of workmen came there, and the workmen started to build the arch. And after their completion of the arch, they informed the king, and the king decided that he would make the inauguration, and he would inaugurate it, and at the same time he would dedicate it to the country people. On a particular scheduled date, the venue was filled up with countrymen, common folks, and subjects were there. They gathered there and they eagerly waited for the king's arrival. And the king was on his way, and when he was just passing under the arch, that arch was built very recently, and this arch was going to be inaugurated. His crown struck the arch, and as a result of that, the crown fell off his head and it loitered on the street. So this was taken to be the huge insult for the king, and the king decided that he would give a punishment for those persons who were responsible for this. So first of all, he decided that this must be the mistake of the head workman, and as a result of that, head of the workmen was called in, and the king declared capital punishment for him. And when the capital punishment was declared for the workman, the head of the workman, then he begged for his life, and he told that he was not responsible for this mishap that had happened was very embarrassing, and as a result the king had all the right to punish the persons who really was responsible for this. But the head of the workmen declared and demanded and claimed that he was not the person who could be taken for the responsibility, or who could be held to be the responsibility. So he told that it must be the mason who was responsible for it, because the mason must have delivered or supplied some of the wrong sized or odd sized brick, and as a result of that this mishap had happened. So when the mason was brought in, and the king declared his punishment to be the capital punishment, and when he was going to be hung, then the mason begged of his life and declared that he could not be held for the responsibility. He rather told that these mistakes that had happened to the king, that offended the king, must be the architect. So when the architect was brought, and he was also going to be punished, and his punishment was declared by the king. Then the architect told that he could not be held responsible for this, because he reminded the king that at the 11th hour the king had made some alteration to the design, and as a result of that this mistake had happened. So the real culprit behind this mishap or this insult caused to the king could not be identified, and finally it was regarded that the king himself was the responsibility, but who would talk against the king? There was none. So as a result of that, the king called in the most wise person, and when the most wise person, who was a very old person, he came, and he declared that the arch should be hung, because the arch itself was responsible. But some of the courtiers who came forward and demanded that the arch could not be hung, because the sacred crown of the mighty king had touched it, and it had become also very much sacred and very much precious thing. The arch could not be hung. But at the same time, the people who were there, they got very much eager and they became very restless, and they started to create chaos. And as a result of that, to control the chaosity, the king declared that a noose should be prepared. Noose is a kind of you can say the rope in which the persons are hung. So then the king declared that whose neck would be fitted for the noose, he would be the victim that day. One by one, all the people are brought there, but no one fitted very nicely and accurately. Finally, it was the king who went there, and his neck suited and his neck fitted the noose very well and perfectly. So the public demanded that the king should be hung, and finally the mad public executed that declaration and the king was hung. As a result of that, the throne became empty, and now they had to put another person fitted for the throne. But there was a custom in that country. The custom was that the king would be selected by that person who would pass through the road in the early morning, and he would be the first person who would pass over the road, and he would be asked, and he had the right to elect the king. So in the next morning, every courtiers and some of the countrymen were eagerly waited to notice who to be the first person to cross the road, because this person would be very much precious and very much important person for them, because this person was going to select their king, next king. So there was suddenly they saw that there was a passerby passing the road, and they asked him that our throne had emptied and our throne had vacated, so whom should we put on the throne as our next king? The man replied, Melon. Now there was a quite funny, interesting thing I have to disclose to you, that this person was actually a foolish and an idiot, because he knew only one answer. So whenever and whoever and wherever he was asked any kind of questions, he had only one answer to give, that was Melon. So when the courtiers and the countrymen asked him that whom they should put on the throne to be their next king, this idiot told Melon, and all the people thought that he was talking about the melon. So they put the melon on the throne, and in this way the state or the kingdom came to be known as the Melon City. And the title says a tale of Melon City. Here tale, T-A-L-E, this means the story behind or background story, how the city came to be known as Melon City. So this was the poem, and I think that you have understood this poem very clearly now, and you can give your feedback and your comments, any query. If you want to know about more about these questions about the poem, you can suggest me and write in the comment section. And please, if you are new to see the video for the first time, please do share it, subscribe it, and don't forget to give your precious comments. Thank you. We'll meet again with a new video and new topic discussions. Have a good day.